Hello, and welcome to the Week 10 devlog for QuiVr, my HTC Vive archery game. Because I feel like Week 10 is kind of a big landmark in my development process, I figured that I should give everybody a pretty serious update this week. So I've been working really hard in getting a number of new mechanics up and running for this devlog. The first, as you can hopefully see, is the brand new environment that's going to be the starting point for the actual map that will be in the full version of the game. Its aesthetic is this snowy area. I think it looks a lot nicer. It looks less kind of Unity base personal edition with all of the rocks being covered with snow with some pretty advanced custom shaders, but that are also pretty fast because they're static. The snow, in addition to looking really nice, we have these cool snow effects. Add some benefits specifically for the headset. The white snow, because it's low detail, snow is kind of a matte surface. It makes it much nicer for the lower resolution of the Vive to be able to. You don't really notice a lot of the aliasing problems. There's still things like the towers and the ice up at the top, but it's a much more lessened effect now that we have kind of this matte snow that covers a lot of the edges, making it much softer. Another big benefit is the contrast between the snow and enemies that are coming down the lanes means that you notice them from much farther away. They're much easier to discern from the background, even when they're really far away when they're kind of pixelated. Additionally, things like blood effects, all of the magic and the particle effects are much easier to see against this white background, so they stand out more. You can see what people are doing. I probably have to change the arrow trails a bit because the white will quickly blend into the background, but those are some minor details. I'm really happy with the way the snow-covered areas have turned out. I think they look really nice, both from an aesthetic perspective and in particular inside the headset. You might notice as well that as I've been talking, the lighting has been changing. There is a fully dynamic sky. We have moving clouds, time of day. So as the video progresses, we're going to see the shadows kind of move across the land as we start the day here. I started it out at night to show kind of some of the new dynamic lighting that the torches have. A lot of people were requesting that the torches cast light. So here we have some braziers, and if we go up here, we can see that the torches are not only lighting, but they're also doing a bit of flickering. Each of the areas has some light that's going on in it. In addition to the new aesthetic of the map, this one is significantly more strategically designed. I've spent the last week kind of building it up from scratch with assets that I did not make. I'm not a 3D artist, but I think it looks pretty nice. The lane has the map has 5 lanes. The 2 large lanes here where enemies can come through, as well as bigger bosses. I've tried to keep one of them really tall so that an enemy can actually stand, walk under it, and tower above that highest vantage point there, kind of being face to face with a player that's standing all the way up there. So we're going to be able to have absolutely massive scale bosses that you'll be fighting against. The cave in the middle is probably where I'll bring in the enemies for the first couple rounds as people get acclimated to the actual gameplay in the full release, as well as in later waves and in the multiplayer. There are 2 side lanes that are more difficult to hit from this standard, the kind of center point. There's a lane that comes up and around, and I can show you that by going up here. It comes up from there and down through here to the gate, and then there's another path that goes up that way from around there and comes down. And so each of these has a benefit to where it can shoot things from. So this particular vantage point that I'm at right now has a pretty good shot of this lane, as well as things coming through here and the kind of general base area. This, I would say, is currently the strongest point. It has a vantage point of about from everything, but it's farther back from everything as well, so it's going to be harder to shoot. It has a good vantage point over everything, but it's going to be harder to hit enemies. These towers have a little bit of a vantage point over here at the beginning. They have a great vantage point over their respective large areas and a little bit of the caves. So really these towers are going to be primarily for shooting the enemies that are kind of streaming through the two large lanes. They don't really have a great view of the lane that's going right beneath them, because you have to lean way over to get that, and even then you only have part of the area that you can actually hit. So let me get back there. Oops. All of the tower areas have, there we go, I just missed. All the tower areas have torches that you can use. I have the Unity 5.4 final release hit. So one of the issues that I was having before was particle effects, needing to use actual mesh renderers instead of billboard particles, which is incredibly more graphics intensive. That issue has now been fixed, so the torch fires should be tremendously less graphically intensive, but kind of give the same look as they did. Other than that, I've set up the game to run kind of the same way. The multiplayer is much nicer. This is going to be the same map that you play in multiplayer. So if I drop this and go ahead and hit the multiplayer testing, we'll see how that looks. If we hit multiplayer testing, we teleport up here, and we can see now that we've connected and we've joined the multiplayer scene without really kind of leaving this area to go back. There's nobody online right now because this is the server version is one version up, so I won't be connected with any people who are playing on the currently live version. But to go back, all we have to do is hit leave room, and we're back. That was it. We've just kind of left the multiplayer area and come back out of the room. We're still in the same spot that we started. You'll always start on this platform, so if you left, or if you started the multiplayer game from up there, you'd or if you left the multiplayer game from up there, you'd be teleported back here. But it's a much nicer transition in and out of the multiplayer games. So let me pick up my bow. The other pretty big change this week comes in the form of the talent system. So if I hold my hand out and hit the touchpad, we can see our talent system that we have. And so currently there's only 3 talents available. Only the first tier are ever able to be picked from. But the way that you would navigate through them is by using either swiping or touching on the touchpad up or down. You can kind of move between the talent tiers. And if I drop the bow and hover over what they do, you can see we have our 3 kind of schools of discipline and what they're going to be about. So the first one is a flash freeze, which makes your arrows have a chance to freeze enemies in place for 4 seconds. Our next tier is a life leech, which makes headshots heal your fort for a little bit of damage. And then finally we have collateral damage, which it means that missed arrows have a chance to explode and do damage around them. All of these work, they all have special effects. Today I will show you Life Leech, and then you'll be able to play with these, the other ones in the actual game. So we've selected Life Leech. It's now displays as selected. The other ones have been grayed out. We can still touch them. All these other ones have just a placeholder display and icons. But now we can hit the touchpad again to make it disappear. and grab our bow again as we would normally go. So now I have a talent that will make, as we said, my headshots be leech life back into the fort. So let's start a siege. Currently, the wave spawn positions are pretty far away from here, so it takes a bit more time to get for them to get here. I think I'm going to be increasing the speed of the enemies by a fair bit, even if it's just increasing them until they get closer to the base. But you can see here a couple enemies are coming in from the cave zone. One of the things I've done is I've added a glow effect to the enemies. It's on a trial basis, just to make them stand out a little bit more. But let's see if we can get a headshot. There we go. I think I might have just missed the head there. There we go. And now you can see that particle effect kind of go through from the enemy all the way to the door. Wherever they're standing, that particle effect will track all the way to the door. All of the abilities have pretty nice particle effects, I think. For the frozen, the enemies will literally freeze in place with an ice shader around them so you can visibly tell that they're frozen. The explosion obviously has an explosion. That's the weakest effect. I think I'll be replacing it in the future. But this talent system also should work in multiplayer, so you'll be able to, everybody will be able to choose specialization in multiplayer and then decide how they want to play. So the general idea is that you have a kind of a sniper talents, defensive talents, and AoE talents. So if you're really good at lining up the shots, then the sniper talents are going to be really powerful. Probably more beneficial damage-wise than the AoE talents. But if you're not a very good shot and you want to make sure that any area you fire has a chance to do... Oops, seems like I've missed some of those. So let's see if we can get a headshot and see the benefit. Oh, not on them. The defensive talents you're probably going to want to have one healer either buffing the other player's abilities or making your fort stronger in some way, regenerating its health, things like that. But there should be a number of different ways to play the game, and currently that system is going to be on a per game basis. So the idea is that you would start the game with no talents. A couple waves in, you'll be given an ability to choose the first tier of talents, and as you can progress through the waves up until the endless mode, you'll be given more talent options. So I'm excited for everybody to get to try out all of these new systems. This update also has a couple changes into the way that the enemy health is synchronized across the network. I was getting a little bit close to my messages per second limit because all of the information about the enemies was getting synchronized across the server every update. So, one of the other things we have is a new elite effect. The other effect was a little bit finicky. It just didn't show up all the time. So we have this new elite effect that I think is pretty cool and should make things pretty interesting. It shows up more, at least, than the other elite effect, and should be a bit more visible than the previous effect. I think that's about it. A lot of work this week went into designing this map, so other than the multiplayer additions that I did over the previous week, and getting everything ready kind of for this bigger map change. I think that's about it for this this week's new features. I definitely still appreciate everybody giving me feedback. Hopefully this sates the needs of a lot of you guys asking for kind of more well-developed map design, as well as some more benefits to the strategic map. Also getting a sense for the progression system in the game. Even though this one isn't permanent, there will be other progression systems that are more permanent in terms of what your character looks, or what your character looks like. Especially in multiplayer, that's a pretty big, important component, because right now everybody looks and plays the same. So being able to customize and see that effect, I think is really cool. Being able to customize your player will become more important as we get more people playing in the multiplayer. I really appreciate everybody who's been playing the multiplayer, giving me feedback on what's working and what isn't, as well as giving me some people to test with. I know I've seen a couple people in-game from my editor build, and I mentioned that I'm just trying some things out, and then we'll pop off, but everybody's been really receptive to that, and has been helping me with my continued development. So please continue giving me feedback in the both on Reddit and the videos here, and in the Steam discussions. I look at pretty much every comment, even try to find more comments, but link my username or something so that I know that I've been summoned or mentioned, or you're talking about the game, and if you're giving me feedback, because I definitely like to hear it, and usually try to either respond or implement changes. So I think that's it for this week. Hopefully you will be able to test out the new map and give me feedback. There's a lot of multiplayer changes, so if things have broken, or things aren't working exactly the way that you would expect them, please let me know, and I'll try to get them fixed. Thanks very much, and I hope to see you guys in game. Happy shooting!